Hi people of the internet and welcome to this new video by the Rerum Nature. Today we're gonna answer a question that I've seen discussed many times on the internet and YouTube in particular, which is whether or not capitalism should be considered human nature. Now, I want to address this discussion briefly but in an intelligent way because I have the impression that most arguments usually made about this kind of miss the point of whether or not something is human nature, which is which doesn't really make sense on its own, and we're gonna find out why in the following minutes. Now, how is the argument usually? Well, usually there's a side that says something like, "Oh, but people are inherently selfish. Humans, as a species, tend to fight for resources and try to gain more and more and more stuff. That's the reason why we have conquered this planet. That's the reason why we are the predominant species on Earth. Therefore, models that tend to make you take more and more and more are inherently coherent with the nature of human beings." And then there's another side that says, "Oh, but that's bullshit. Actually, humans ain't just selfish. For a human being, it is perfectly natural to cooperate and share resources if that's needed to make the conditions of everyone better. And therefore, even socialism is human nature, maybe even more than capitalism is. Just look at all the Aboriginal villages in Australia or something. They do not have private property as we do in America or Europe or developed countries. Therefore, that form of capitalism and capitalism in general cannot be human nature. And then I come and I say that this discussion does not really look like it's getting to anywhere, because you can't just look at how people behave and say, "Oh, this is human nature and this isn't," because you are assuming there is a coherent set of behaviors that are human when they kind of aren't, or maybe there are but they are very vague, and surely you can't find the economical model that corresponds to them precisely. And all of this is without even addressing the fact that being selfish does not mean being capitalist, and neither does trying to acquire more resources. Capitalism is a much more defined and specific thing than that. And in the same way, wanting to share resources and not having private property doesn't mean it's socialism. Okay, so the question is more complex and everyone is just missing the point, but I know what the right approach is and I'm gonna share it with you. Now, I think that the place we should start from is Darwin. Yeah, Darwin. Basically, now, how people behave is not like determined unilaterally by their nature. We do not think that anymore. The way people behave is determined by the conditions they're in, which are processed through the nature of the human being. But that is not important because that's true universally, because we are only speaking about human beings, so we can just ignore this for now and in general for the entirety of this video. In a certain context, in a certain village, in a certain area, what is more valuable, what is more effective? To share resources, to not have private property, or to compete, to try to acquire more and more and more shit? This is the core question. Because maybe you're an idealist and you ain't gonna share resources, even should it be the most intelligent thing to do. But if you don't, other people are gonna do it, and you are gonna have a disadvantage, and your children will have a disadvantage, and they'll survive less and less and less and less, and natural selection will come kicking and kill all of your offspring. Well, not all of your offspring directly, but you are going to be natural selected away, if you know what I mean. So this is the point. And therefore, in any area, what is it? What wins? Proto capitalism or proto non-capitalism. That's the best term I can think of. Well, it depends. What is the most valuable? What is the system that gives the best result for any unit of time? This is what wins before ideologies and uh, class struggle and everything are taken into account. But even when they're taken into account, all of the history of class struggle and everything can be read through the lens of natural selection doing its work. Just it's not natural anymore, it's social selection, but it's still explainable with the mindset of Darwin, for the simple reason that the mindset of Darwin, the natural selection thing, is just statistics. That's like the second principle of thermodynamics, but for people instead in lieu of gases. So that's the place I think we should start from. And obviously there are more things that should be taken into account eventually. But God, the question in the title of this video is capitalism human nature? If that is not a big and general question, I genuinely do not know what could be. Now, so what? Well, I think that all of these Darwinish mindset can be translated into the one of historic materialism. We should think like Marx does, because I think he has a lot of interesting things to say, and we should understand that what really determines the superstructure of a society. So it's religion, it's culture, and in culture we also include behaviors that we have previously defined, not very smartly, as capitalists or non-capitalists, or better, proto-capitalists or proto-non-capitalists. Well, all of this shit that we genuinely call superstructure, for the reasons I've just given you, for the material reasons bounded to statistics and Darwinism, are determined by what Marx called the structure of the society, which is nothing but the way it produces goods, which is determined by the environment, like what plants are there, do we have measures on the ground, shit like that. So, the kind of social Darwinism we have applied is just a persona of historic materialism that manifests itself in different forms in proto societies through the effects of the environment on people and societies, which brings us to environmental determinism, which is another theory that I think can be understood just by historic materialism, or at the very least, it assumes historic materialism, and both these theories work when applied empirically most of the time, which brings us to the question, wait, does history use an empirical method? And the answer is yes, and I'll talk about it in a previous video. So, wrapping things up, I wanted this to be a brief video, and I think I made it. Is capitalism human nature? Well, when capitalism is the statistically most appropriate response to the environment, yes. And when capitalism is not the most appropriate response to the environment, proto-non-capitalism is. And this is the answer I think should be given, because because talking about human nature a priori to shit like what the environment is, what the conditions are, is kind of inappropriate in my opinion. And with this, I conclude this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had a good time. I hope you learned something. See you in the next video. This was the Rerum Nature. Bye.